Bad news for Terence Bud Crawford. All around the world, same song. It's just the same old song. The WBO has ordered Terence Crawford to fight and face champion Sebastian Fundora. Now, I'm always 7 to 12 steps ahead of the game. I know some people, they are scratching their head right now. They're saying, yo, but Ego, what do you mean bad news? How is this bad news? Let me explain. So, for starters, Terence Crawford will be 37 September 28th. So, a few weeks, he'll be 37 years old. He's pushing 40. They just ordered him to fight because he was undisputed. So he was the WBO super champion in the previous weight class. So as a result, they ordered him. You know, you have priority or you have first dibs when it comes to fighting for the belt after you move up. Terence Crawford beat Errol Spence, became the WBO champion. He already had the belt, beating Jeff Horn, but they unified the belt. So for that reason, Terence Crawford has priority, if you will, as a super champion. Now that he's at 154, he can challenge it. Here's why I say it's a problem. Because if you guys study your history, many a fight have been ordered, but that doesn't mean anything. I remember the WBC, they had their yearly annual convention and they started ordering like Pitbull Cruz versus Ryan Garcia, fights like Dillian White versus Luis King Kong Ortiz. Of course, this is years ago. To this day, none of those fights have happened, right? So if Fundora rejects this fight with Crawford, then he'll basically have to relinquish the belt. And then I don't know if Terence Crawford has to fight for it or if by default he just becomes the champion, right? But I see this as being a major, and I do mean major, roadblock for Crawford's career, because Crawford did one fight with PBC and went his own way. Terence Crawford chose to team up with Turkey in conjunction with the Eddie Hearn card he just did to fight Madrimov. And without Terence Crawford having a better relationship with PBC perhaps, and wanting to do things on his term and work with Turkey, I really just don't see this fight happening. So I could for sure picture and envision Sebastian Fundora dropping his belt. Keep in mind, when Sebastian Fundora beat Tim Tszyu, he was a dual belt champion, right? He became a 2-belt champion. So Sebastian Fundora versus Errol Spence, they could fight for 1 belt instead of 2. And I've always said this, or at least more recent years, I told you guys, these belts don't really matter. The biggest fight of 2023 last year was Ryan Garcia, who had never been a champion before, versus Tank Davis. And at the end of the day, it just goes to show you, a fight like that did over 1 million views because people just wanted to see it. They entertained us with the buildup. It was brewing. They made the fight happen. People wanted to see it. Point blank, period. The end. So that's just that. And another big obstacle is this. Jake Donovan, boxing reporter, said, should the matter head to a purse bid, Terence Crawford will gain a favorable end of the purse split as super champion, even though Sebastian Fundora is the full title holder. Crawford also makes significantly more per fight, a determining factor in a potential split. See Jamel Herring versus Shakur Stevenson for a past example. So Shakur Stevenson was basically, even though he was the challenger and Jamel Herring was the champion, Shakur had bigger purses. He was the bigger known name of the two. So they worked it out to the point where Shakur ended up making more money than Jamel Herring. Normally, the champion gets the lion's share of the money. Like if it's a 75-25 split, then the champion gets 75. But under certain circumstances, that doesn't always make sense, because Terence Crawford, you would be making his paycheck a lot lesser than what he's used to getting. So that's another major obstacle, because why would PBC allow Sebastian Fundora to, just from a business perspective, I'm asking, allow Sebastian Fundora to fight Terence Crawford and get a worse split as champion, and likely he would have to go to a rival network, DAZN, Turkey, and then, you know, he would be on a rival platform, when you could just make the Errol Spence fight for one belt. It'll still sell, especially in Texas, and Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence can fight. Tim Tszyu's fighting for the WBA belt in October, I believe. And then you can have Tim Tszyu versus Murtazaev winner versus Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence winner, and have the winners meet and unify. And Terence Crawford at age 37, because he will be 37 by that time, Terence Crawford being pretty much gifted a belt, not having to fight for a belt, that really does nothing. We've already seen him undisputed twice. So Terence Crawford is in search of big fights. The name he's been calling out is Canelo Alvarez, but Canelo already said there's no reason to fight such a small guy. In addition, Terence Crawford teamed up with Turkey, who has a contemptuous relationship with Canelo Alvarez, and the two have feuded back and forth. So Terence Crawford is likely not going to get a Canelo fight anytime soon, especially working with Turkey, right? And them having beef, Canelo and Turkey. And then if he just, Fundora, I believe, would vacate his belt, because why would he make less money to fight Crawford on a rival network, like I just said? That doesn't really make sense. So Crawford would then have two belts, one from Israel Madrimov fight, which some people thought was a draw. Some people thought Madrimov did enough to keep his title. Some people thought Crawford won. But all in all, Crawford having two belts, it really does nothing. Like, so who is he going to fight? And I looked at the rankings, and the people who are ranked are non-eventful fights. They have Tim Tszyu ranked, and then Josh Kelly. I already explained Tim Tszyu's already fighting for a title, so that's another PBC fighter as well. So Crawford likely won't get the number 1 rated guy, Tim Tszyu. Number 2 rated guy is Josh Kelly. He has a September fight against Liam Smith. So Crawford would then, you just go down the rankings. The number 3 guy is Xander Zayas with Top Rank. Terence Crawford was with Top Rank, left kind of on bad terms, and Xander Zayas has not faced anyone near the caliber of a Terence Crawford. So I don't even know if they would make that fight, because that would be such a huge leap up for Xander Zayas in terms of Top Rank and how they matched him. And he's young, right? And again, Crawford and Top Rank don't have the best relationship. The number 4 person is Erickson Lubin, again, a PBC guy. And number 5 is Errol Spence, who again may already fight Sebastian Fundora for his other belt, the WBC belt. So I don't care what none of y'all talking about. This is bad news, because Terence Crawford at this stage of the game, and after his last fight reportedly lost over $10 million with an Eminem concert and stuff like that, and it underwhelmed even the performance. Some people felt that Crawford would have done better versus a guy with 11 fights. I really don't see where you even go right now. Like, what do you even do? What Crawford having 2 belts, one by a technicality or because someone relinquished their belt, what does that really do for Crawford at this stage of the game? And this is why you can't burn bridges in the sport of boxing, or just in business in general. So you guys let me know if you see it differently. I know there's going to be some comments that say they see it differently, but I've done an excellent job outlining why it's problematic for Terence Crawford. Again, The thing that's eluded Crawford virtually his whole career is Terence Crawford not getting the big fights when they're relevant, minus maybe Errol Spence, and people gave him credit for that fight, right? But outside of that, you got Amir Khan when he was late, Madrimov, nobody really knew him, Mean Machine, nobody really knew him, fighting guys like Sean Porter, his last fight of his career, things like that. So at the end of the day, simply having 2 belts, one that you earn from beating Madrimov and one that you'll get from Fundora likely vacating, I just really don't see how that grows Crawford's brand. And then this is the thing. You have people who said Turkey's the savior and he's saving boxing. They're going to have to stuff Terence Crawford in Saudi Arabia and put him there because like they're not growing him in America. So I just don't see what's the point. He wants the Canelo fight, doesn't look likely. So what do you do? What do you do now? And I can't wait. Bad business, bud. I try to tell you.